How's it going, guys? And welcome to Out of Bounds, episode 11, a Monday edition after the first week of the NFL. I'm doing this late night. It is after all the NFL stuff's going on, after every game. I was going to do it Monday morning. I was trying to figure out when I was going to schedule this thing, and I said, no. The People's Monday is bad enough. Let's fix it with an Out of Bounds episode about everything we saw, college and NFL, and of course the MLS. Now a little bit of information. iTunes has recognized the greatness. iTunes has said, look guys, we got the real deal Holyfield here. We got a media monster down in a lush palace in South Mississippi. Let's get him on the tunes. So iTunes has picked us up. We are completely in the store. We're searchable. If you search Out of Bounds, spelled like you think it would be spelled, it will come up and you can subscribe. You can find it all right there, really easy. You can plug away to put it into your phone and your computer, and you can Bluetooth it. You can listen on your commute, which is what I am hoping for. That you'll choose to listen to this instead of those hacks at wherever your local sports radio market is, because what we're putting out is better. So go check us out on iTunes and enjoy us however so pleases you. Now, let's get right into this business. The NCAA. This is how it works with sports, and especially football. Week 1 is always happy days, right? Favorites win. You have a team that brings in some D2 school. You pay them $1 million to come get their brains beat out. And then your students get drunk and happy, and they go home. Week 2, though, that's like when you go to the casino for the first time with your mama's money, and you win $20, and you're feeling good. And you're sitting there and you're going, man, maybe I can make a career out of this. Maybe I'm the best gambler on earth. Maybe I'm Matt Damon in Rounders. And you go back to the casino with your friends, and the casino takes you for everything that you've ever loved, and you lose thousands of dollars, and you lose your dignity, and you walk out, and you don't have any friends anymore, and you don't have enough money to eat or get gas or anything. Not that I'm speaking from any kind of actual experience. That would be wrong. But that's what happened this week. Teams were losing left and right, and if they weren't losing, they were getting taken to the limit. They were getting pushed back into a corner, and nobody pushes baby into a corner. It was D-Day in the SEC, for God's sakes. Last week, me, the big guy, came out here and said, look, let's all relax, okay? Does the SEC deserve 10 teams in the top 25? I wasn't so sure. And lo and behold, it looks like they don't, because now they only have 7. Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Arkansas all are out of the top 10. I don't know if Tennessee should be out. They might have a case of still being there, and they might still see their way back in there. Arkansas will never sniff the top 25 again. They would have to win the rest of their games. Because Arkansas lost to Toledo 16-12. Look, you watch too many 16-12 games, and you'll start rocking one of those soul patch, and you'll start getting calf tats and gauges. You don't want to watch that garbage. Brett Bielema's going to have to figure it out. This is it's an impossible game to come back from. If you're a head coach and you lose this game, it's over. Your season's over. Unless you plan on winning the rest of them. Because if he, beats Alabama and Ole Miss and all these teams, maybe he can salvage his season. But good God, a loss to Toledo, Brett Bielema. This is a stain on his white jumpsuits. I mean, this is hellaciously bad. A hellaciously bad loss. And the people of Arkansas have got to be wondering at this point, is Brett Bielema the guy? I'm not saying you fire him over this one loss, but this is definitely a step where it's like maybe Bielema doesn't have the juice. Maybe because you cannot lose to Toledo at home as an SEC school. That can't happen. Mississippi State lost to Maine, and they're just now getting back. And that was seriously 6 years ago. Then Jacksonville State rolled up in Jordan-Hare Stadium and took Auburn to the limit. They gave them everything they had and more. Jacksonville State was winning for 95% of that game. Auburn needed OT to beat a 40-point underdog if If Jacksonville State would have pulled off the upset, it would have been the biggest point spread underdog to win in NCAA history. The only game that would have came close was one of Jim Harbaugh's Stanford teams beating USC. They were like a 39-point dog or something. Jacksonville State was like a 41-point dog. So this would have been the biggest upset in bettable game in NCAA history. There's a real concern here about Auburn. They won, they're 2-0, and they went from 6 to 18. They dropped 12 spots after a win. Now, I understand that it went to overtime with Jacksonville State, but there's real concerns here. And it's not just from me, it's from the AP, it's from the coaches poll. You don't drop 12 points after a win. I mean, they're undefeated right now. And they're dropping they almost dropped out of the top 25. You know how hard it is? You know how hard it is to start in the top 7 or the top 6 and win your first 2 games and almost drop out of the top 25? That ain't easy. Auburn might be the only team to do that. But it's warranted, and I've been saying it. Jeremy Johnson is an unknown. He has a promise of, hey, I can run this offense. Hey, look what I did in a very small sample size last year. But now he's got a situation where it's like, hey, Jeremy, my man, you almost lost to Jacksonville State at home. You played like garbage against Louisville. You've thrown 5 picks in 2 games. Can you run this offense? Is this too much for you? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. That's real. That's a real situation that Gus Malzahn has to figure out. Because they will get, I don't even want to say what will happen to him here. If you've ever seen like American History X and you know what's going on, they will get bludgeoned against Alabama or against Ole Miss or any of those teams. So Auburn has got to figure it out. They were my pick in the SEC West. I don't like to remind people that. But they were in a terrible spot. Absolutely terrible spot. Another game in the SEC where an SEC team fell. Tennessee lost in double overtime to Oklahoma. What a game. This was when I realized like football was here, right? I was sitting at home. I just got off work. And Michigan State, Oregon was playing. Tennessee, Oklahoma was going into overtime. And LSU State was coming up after that. I was in football heaven. That's when it was like, football is here. And it felt so good. But it did not feel good in Knoxville. About 80,000 people. A couple 100,000 were just around in the area. Tennessee looked great. They looked like the Tennessee of old. But Oklahoma just had the Midas touch. Baker Mayfield is a bad mamma jamma. Lock your daughters up. Baker Mayfield, that number, that unknown number calling you from California, that's Katy Perry, brother. And she ain't calling just for movie references. She's calling because she wants some. She's swiping right, my man. Baker Mayfield is a grown man. He could not be sacked at Neyland Stadium. He willed Oklahoma. It was like the ghosts of Oklahoma past. The ghosts of Boz and Adrian Peterson and Jason White were all carrying Baker into the end zone. Incredible game in Knoxville. The SEC needs Tennessee to be good. They need Tennessee to be good. And Oklahoma, it's good to see those two teams good. There's a few years there Tennessee was awful, and Oklahoma was struggling too. So it's good to see them both. I think Oklahoma's closer to a top 10 team. They're 16th right now. And I think Tennessee's closer to a 20 team. So Tennessee fans, don't fret. Don't fret. Y'all on the right track. Dobbs is in the right direction. The whole program's in the right direction. It's a tough loss. You should have won the game. You were dominating the game. But don't forget where you were just 2 years ago. So, tough loss there. But that was the SEC teams that that really struggled this week and embarrassed the conference. Another SEC game, LSU State. Good game as far as the numbers, 21-19. State missed 2 field goals at the end. One that was a timeout, and then they missed another one from about 50 to win it at home. Tough loss for State. You don't want to lose at home. They played strong. They got mollywopped in the first half. LSU was the better team. Leonard Fournette's a machine. If it was 10 years ago, he'd win the Heisman. He'd be the number 1 overall pick. But it ain't. That's not enough to get you to the title. So Brandon Harris or Anthony Jensen, whoever it becomes at LSU, the quarterback situation, they have to get better to lead that Tiger team if they want to have a shot at the West, which I don't think. Between me, you, and the camera, I don't think they do. But State, just like I said on Skrmetta and Gunk last week, they're a good team. They're not a good team in the SEC West. That's a big difference. They'd be a great team in the ACC, but they're not in the ACC. They're in the SEC. They'd be a great team in the SEC East, but they're not in the SEC East. They're in the SEC West, and that presents a problem for a team that lost a lot of players, for a team that's bringing in a bunch of young players. That creates an issue, and State fans have gotten used to winning for some reason because Mullins kind of changed the atmosphere to where they expect to be that 10-win team, and they won't be this year. They don't have enough to keep up with the other teams in the SEC West, and that was apparent here. It was a close game. It shouldn't have been. LSU was the much better team. They showed it in the first half. Kudos to State for. It was kind of like that scene in Game of Thrones where the mountain was on the ground and the viper had him dead, and he was kind of dancing, and then the mountain just broke his face. You know, the viper just shouldn't have showboated, I guess. And LSU almost got their face broken. As far as other teams, Ole Miss, Bama, A&M absolutely rolled. Next week, this Saturday, Ole Miss is traveling to Bama in what I believe is the SEC West informal championship. That's going to be it. That's the two teams. Unless A&M really is that real, then that will be the decider for the SEC West crown, and more than likely the SEC representative into the playoffs. Right now, I think Ole Miss is a better team. Which takes me, that's called a segue, kids. If you're still in broadcast school, that's a segue. And go ahead and drop out, because if you're watching these videos and you're listening to this podcast, you don't need to be in class. You already learned all you need to know about how to do it. That segues into my top 5. What a segment. Last week, if you're watching the video version, put up the graphic. If you're watching the audio version, I'll tell you, baby. I ain't going to leave you in the dark, all my iTunes friends, all my podcast friends. Last week, my top 5 was 1, Ohio State, 2, Bama, 3, Florida State, 4, Ole Miss, 5, Texas A&M. This week's changed a lot. I went out west. I went California dreaming, and I came back with 2 teams. Number 1, Ohio State, nothing changed. Number 2, Ole Miss. Ole Miss to me right now is the second best. And remember, these rankings is just off of what I've seen. It's not preseason rankings. It's not anything like that. It's strictly what I've seen. And Ole Miss, they've played weak competition, but man, they look great. And Chad Kelly looks just like I thought he would look. In that game against Bama, if Coker can't keep Bama on the same pace as Kelly's going to keep Ole Miss, Bama will lose that game. Well, I'm sure I'll be talking about that for an hour in Skrmetta and Gunk, so I won't get into it here. But Chad Kelly has what it takes to win that game. Number 3, one of the teams that I came back with from out west, the University of Southern California. Man, they're good. They're finally filling out that team. They're finally filling out the scholarships. They finally are dressing out the right amount of players. They're finally not playing with half of a team, and they're showing. They're beating teams by 50. And Cody Kessler is a quarterback that doesn't get the hype that he should, but he will in this show because I'm all about telling you all the truth. And the truth is Cody Kessler is a machine. He's a really good player. USC is a really good team. Right now, they're playing as good as anybody. 3rd team in the nation in my top 5. Number 4, Alabama. 2 SEC teams. Ole Miss and Bama. Bama was number 2 last week. They won convincing fashion again. If Coker's the question mark, he does not look good, and I don't know why. I thought he would be prepared after sitting for an entire year, but I'm not betting against Nick Saban until he shows me some cracks in his armor. And this week in Tuscaloosa, Saturday, either Ole Miss or Bama will fall on my top 5. They'll fall out. They'll be gone. And I'll probably only have one SEC team in there unless A&M does something crazy. And number 5, Another Western team. James, what's going on? You live in Mississippi. Are you moving? No, I'm staying here. I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid that is UCLA. Their quarterback, Mr. Rosen, unbelievable. How's he 18 years old? He's 8 years younger than me. Oh, that just gave me heartburn. I need the Pepto. 8 years younger than me. I'm sure he's having a good time on campus over at UCLA because he is the man. 18 years old and could be a Heisman contender, could be the best quarterback in the nation. Whoa, that's right, I said it. So that's my top 5 for this week. Ohio State 1, Ole Miss 2, USC 3, Bama 4, UCLA 5. It will continuously change unless his team keeps winning in convincing fashion, then I will keep them up there. I'm sure y'all noticed Michigan State's not in there. They beat Oregon. Our first top 10 matchup. I just don't believe in Michigan State, and I don't think they're better than these top 5 teams. They're in that 6-7 area for me. They're not better than these guys right here. If Michigan State's playing USC, I'm taking USC. If Michigan State's playing Ohio State, I'm taking Ohio State. Nothing against Michigan State. I just don't think I wouldn't put them in my playoff, and they're not where these other teams are. So I do recognize they're good, but they didn't make it. Sorry. Sue me. Now, how did I do before we get into the MLS Minute? Well, this hurts. This hurts because I give y'all winners, and I'm confident in my picks. I think about them all week. And a week like this week really kicks me right in the plums. Last week, I went 3-2, right? We're above 500, which is a professional. If you're above 500 betting, you're beating the odds. You're a miracle. You're a miracle worker. This week, not so much. We'll start with college. Penn State minus 16.5, won by 13. Thanks. That's a loss. Notre Dame minus 10. Not only do they not cover, Malik Zaire, their star quarterback, fractured his ankle, out for the year. Whoa, James, thanks a lot for that. No problem, Notre Dame. Sorry about it. That's the world bender status right there. When I bet on games, magical things happen. So that's 0 for 2. And then my favorite, LSU minus 2.5, they won by 2. Hold on a second. Do you have any more bleach? I would like to drink you. Nothing like losing a game by a half point. 0 for 3 in college picks. What do you want me to do? I'm sorry. I almost bet on Arkansas. Whoops. If you're at home calling these games, you're a monster. Okay? You're a machine. If you're sitting there going, yeah, Toledo's got it. Oh, yeah, Jacksonville State's great. And I'm going to get beat up on Thursday's episode of Skrmetta and Gunk because that not your father root beer drinking lunatic Gunkel is all on South Florida, and they did exactly what he said they were going to do. So I'm gonna have to chew that. I'm gonna have to swallow that pill. As far as the NFL goes, I still have 2 picks pending tonight's games, but I went 2-0 in the morning games. Kansas City minus 1 and Miami minus 4. There we go. We're back. 2-0. Then Baltimore plus 5, lost by 6. Threw a pick in the end zone to lose it. What do you want me to do? I'm losing bets by 1. It's the second week. This is not supposed to happen. That's mid-season form, okay? You don't know how many pieces of pizza and how much gumbo and how many beers I had to drink to wash down losing by 1 point. In back-to-back days. Back-to-back. I got Meek Milled. Norm Kelly's laughing at me. And me and Norm Kelly are cool. Oh, man. Then, Dallas minus 6. Dallas won, but didn't cover. 1 by 1. So on the week, I went 2-5. That ain't going to pay the bills, brother. I'm going to have to be on some Metro PCS stuff if I keep going 2-5. On the season, I'm 5-7. If I win the 2 games tonight, I'll be 7-7. I'll be laughing my way to the bank. And all you suckers that have been trash talking me on Twitter, you can check the Twitter on the screen or at JSKRMETTA. All you clowns that's been trash talking me on Twitter, if I'm sitting at 7-7, I'm gonna get the last laugh. Now, before we get into the NFL action, let's get the scarf on, let's crank the music up, and let's get the MLS Minute going. With all this college football and pro football hot action, the MLS is is overdosing me on football because I'm not going to stop watching. I'm going to tell you that right now, son. I'm not stopping the train that is the MLS. Play the music. Let's do this. The MLS Minute Friday. The New York Red Bulls beat the Chicago Fire 3-2 for 3 more points. The Red Bulls are now in first place in the East after goals from Bradley Wright Phillips, Mike Grella, Sasha Cheston sealed the win for the most energetic team in football. Saturday gave us 6 games with 14 total goals and a highly anticipated matchup that fell a tiny bit flat. We'll work backwards. In the night game, the Montreal Drogbas took on the Los Angeles Steven Gerrards in a 0-0 tie. I stayed in on a Saturday night. I didn't go out. I had friends calling me saying, "James, come out. All the honeys are out." And I said, no. I got LA, I got Montreal, I got to watch it. And they gave me a 0-0 draw. Thanks, guys. My social life thanks you. The Seattle Sounders tied bitter rivals San Jose. They're probably not bitter rivals. I don't know why I wrote that. I don't think they're rivals at all. So, whatevs. They tied them 1-1 with goals from Obi Flips and Fatai Alash. Martin scored in the 82nd minute, squaring things away and giving Seattle the much-appreciated road draw. Colorado and DC United also played to a 1-1 draw. Where are the goals? Where are these goals, fam? If DC would have won, they would have clinched a spot in the playoffs. But those Cheech and Chong-loving SOBs from Colorado had other plans. They just couldn't remember what they were. That's some strong weed puns we got going on here in the MLS Minute. DC defenders Steve Birnbaum and Bobby Burling got the goals. Finally, some scoring. Hallelujah. Real Salt Lake slapped around the Houston Dynamo 3-1 with goals from Javier Morales, Devin Sandoval, and Juan Manuel Martinez. Those 3 right there gave RSL their 4th consecutive win over Houston. FC Dallas abused New York's pathetic defense 2-1. It's honestly so sad to watch David Villa and Pirlo play with that intramural squad they've been saddled up with. Mikel and Tesho Akindele got the goals and got New York a sad nap. Shout out to the Men in Blazers. Philadelphia and Columbus turned in a fun game, with Columbus getting a 2-1 win. The Crew are slowly becoming one of my favorite teams to watch, all because of this guy, Kai Kamara. He scored a brace to give the Crew 3 points. I usually don't show goals from the losing teams because I don't promote losing here. That's why I don't promote the chump local sports radio stations in all of y'all's markets. But I got to show this goal. I got to show the audio people. Sorry you can't see this. But this goal from Philadelphia got my knees weak. It was just team. It was beautiful. It should have been in the Louvre. Sunday gave us 2 games. First up, New England beat Toronto 3-1. New England can't stop winning, brother. 5 straight for the Minutemen and 6 out of 7. Goals provided by Damian Perquet, his own goal, Diego Fagundes, and Kellen Rowe. How about an upset for you on this lovely Sunday? Orlando 3, Sporting Kansas City 1. Wait, what? Yeah, that's right. I said Orlando 3, Sporting KC 1. What has happened to Kansas City? They can't win a game. They should be so much better, and it makes me sad. Goals from Byron Roches and a brace for Adrian Winter gave the Walt Disney Cacaz the win. That has been your MLS Minute on this football-filled episode here. Let's check the clock. Oh, we are. This is an absolute beauty. This is an absolute perfect time show. My producers don't get enough credit. And I'll shout them out before we get to the NFL here because I'm a nice guy. And I want to talk about my staff. So to my producer, me, great job. To my graphic designer, me, fantastic job. To my audio guy, me, well done. And to my writer, me, well done. So give it up. Give it up for the staff at home. Thank you all for showing up. This Sunday was perfect. Absolutely perfect. The NFL, you're late, you wake up and you got your college football hangover. Not even an alcohol thing, just all day of football. You know, all day watching football, the scores got you up and down. Your team lost or your team won, or you lost money or you won money. And you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And it's Sunday, what do? Maybe I'll catch some brunch. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll watch football all bleeping day. And that's exactly what you should do. And if you're not doing that and you're this far into the show, how did this happen? Nice to meet you, but how in the world did this happen? But the NFL Week 1 gave us some very surprising moments, mostly in Buffalo. 27-14, the Bills smacked around the Colts in a game that was not close. That score makes it look a lot closer than it was. Buffalo was beating the hell out of Indianapolis. At one point, I was sitting there and I was thinking, it was like 17-0, pretty late in the game. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, Andrew Luck, I don't think has ever been shut out in his career. And for Buffalo to do it, Rex Ryan's built on defense. But to do that to Andrew Luck and to the team that I picked in the Super Bowl, Heartburn City, was hard to watch. I'm glad I didn't bet him. I almost did. Buffalo looked good, though. Buffalo looked good. Tyrod Taylor, interesting situation because I don't know if he's really that good or if it's kind of a thing where he's just kind of living that Mark Sanchez life, and that's another thing about Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan gets a lot of flack. But his quarterbacks that he's had his coaching career, Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, Tyrod Taylor, if you give him a good quarterback, Rex Ryan maybe does deserve a little more credit, But Buffalo, they showed a lot. Their offense looked really good. They have all those weapons, like we've mentioned before. They have all those weapons. I'm interested to see how they're going to use them. And they used them really well. LaShawn McCoy looked fine. His hamstring did not look like it was bothering him at all. Percy Harvin contributed. Tyrod Taylor looked dynamic. He looked fantastic. He looked a million times better than Geno Smith has ever looked. So Tyrod's moving in the right direction. And maybe the Bills can fight for an AFC wildcard spot. They're not going to win. They're not going to win the AFC East as long as Tom Brady's there. But maybe they can fight for a wild card spot. I hope they do because the Bills have a great fan base, the Bills Mafia, and they deserve, they deserve some playoff action, some hot playoff action. The Rams, how about that? The Rams pulled one out in Seattle, something Sierra never has to worry about. Ooh, hey-oh, oh my goodness, my friends, you're not going to find that anywhere else. I'm proud of that one. That was nice. Pete Carroll has lost his last 2 games in the last seconds with very questionable calls. He's so in his own head, he can't stand it. In the Super Bowl, he passes it when he should have ran it, and in St. Louis, he ran it when he should have passed it. It was 4th and 1, and he goes into a shotgun read option with Marshawn Lynch. Pete, that's where you should have thrown it. You're in the middle of the field. And if you do run it, why do it from the shotgun? Why make a 4th and 1 a 4th and 4? And do that play in the Super Bowl. Do that play where you have the time, you can call a timeout and give yourself the read option. It's almost like he did it on purpose to just make the whole thing go full circle. Be like, all right, guys, I've paid for my sins. That I ran it when y'all wanted me to pass it, and I passed it when y'all wanted me to run it. Now leave me alone. Leave me the hell alone. So Pete Carroll, losing games for fun out there. Losing games for fun. And I said Seattle would come down to earth this year. It's one game, but something's not right. I think it has to do with Russell Wilson. I really do. I don't think he's the guy that everyone's making him out to be. Then we got the Saints. How can we talk about the NFL without talking about the Saints? No surprise, really. They lost out in Arizona, 31-19, but a last-second touchdown made it look a lot worse than it was. Last-second touchdown. What we'll talk about here, the game itself, aside from Mark Ingram, who looked like hot trash garbage, the game wasn't bad. Drew Brees looked all right, picking a touchdown, 300-plus yards, pretty typical for Drew. He was getting moved around a lot. Arizona has a staunch defense. I said Arizona was a sneaky Super Bowl contender, and they are. They could win that NFC West. They're real. I mean, Carson Palmer looked 10 years younger. He looked 10 years younger, and that's a good team. And it's not bad to lose to a team like that on the road. The Saints fans shouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe we lost 31-19 where that season's over. It's just like last year. That's fine. You have a unbalanced schedule where you play tough teams and you play bad teams. You just got to beat the bad teams. What you should be talking about is one, Mark Ingram looks so bad. And also that call at the end, I'm really interested to hear what Saints fans have to say. And if you made it this far to get to this question, please, 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 please drop a comment, hit me with a tweet, do something, because I want to know what y'all think about this, because me and my friends debated it when we were sitting there watching it. When 4th and 6, you're in the shadow of your own goalpost. I get that. And I understand that you can get the ball back with about 20 seconds left. But why do you punt it there if you're Sean Payton? Why? At 4th and 6, you have to believe that at 4th and 6, you can draw up a play to get 6 yards with Drew Brees and continue kind of a 95-yard drive-ish. That's a better scenario than punting it, hoping your defense can stop an offense you haven't stopped all game, and give yourself about 20 seconds to try and manufacture the identical drive that you would do if you got the first down. Now, one side of the argument is if you don't get it on 4th and 6, the game's over. You don't allow yourself any chance of winning. And my counter argument to that is, well, yeah, but punting it and getting the ball at 20 seconds, you're extending the game. But you're not extending your percentages of winning. I feel like the percentages of winning are very similar in both situations. I don't think it was the right call. It's a tough call to make because it's the same thing as going for it on 2 instead of kicking it for the tie. It's do or die, and that's not the easiest call to make. I want to know what you think. What do you think at home? Do you think that Sean Payton should have gone for it, 4th and 6, on about whatever it was, like the 4? Or should he have punted it, and should the defense have held up? Is it a Rob Ryan problem? Is it a fluke where that little dump play that went for the touchdown, is that just a fluke where it shouldn't have happened? Or where are you at on that whole thing? Because I think that was a bad call from Sean Payton. And it shows a weird lack of trust in Drew Brees. I know Drew Brees wanted to go for it. He's a warrior. Did you not see him wrestle a crocodile? Of course he wanted to go for it. Another real talking point is it a Jimmy Graham thing? Is not having Jimmy Graham kind of limiting what they can do in situations like 4th and 5, 4th and 6, where Graham would be there? Is that a problem? But the Saints get the Buccaneers next week in a must-win, should-win in the Dome. Tonight, Philadelphia and Atlanta, take Philly -3. Minnesota, Frisco, take the under. Or maybe don't. I can't win a game to save my life. But the clock's looking good. We went super long on Friday. We're going to go not as long today. And then tomorrow we get the JSE experience. Please tune in. If you have enjoyed this and you're your first time here, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe on iTunes or just check out my website, all that stuff for more content. We're pumping out content on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So 4 days out of 5 during the week, I am pumping out new, unique, fresh content that no one else can do. So again, I have been your host, James Skrmetta. Thank you very much for watching Out of Bounds. I really do appreciate it. Enjoy the doubleheader tonight, guys, and enjoy the rest of the week. I will see you tomorrow night in the JSE experience. Have a great week, guys.